And the last thing in this tray that I'm gonna plant is watermelon. I think I've only ever tried to grow watermelon one time, and I think I didn't harden them off, and then I planted them in like way too shady of a spot, and I think that the plants grew like one leaf and then died. I also think it was a really cold, rainy year, and they were in the shade, so it's basically, I think, did everything that a watermelon wouldn't like. So this year I'm gonna try and make them happy. I have a Manitoba maple stump that I have been trying to kill. The tree was girdled by the previous homeowners. They put one of those tree collars around, and by the time we moved in, the grass had all grown up. Like, you couldn't see that there was that white rock or those collars around the trees. And we didn't find out about those collars until one of the trees blew down in a windstorm because it had been girdled by the collar and had grown to be bigger than the collar. So the base of the trunk was the smallest part of the tree, and then it was quite a bit bigger. And so obviously a windstorm came and it blew down. And then when I was looking as to why it blew down, I found the collar at the base of the tree and found that they were on all of the trees in our yard. And I was able to get them off all of the other trees, but we did unfortunately lose that box elder tree, or Manitoba maple, they're also called. So I've been trying to kill the stump because we have 4, 5 other box elder trees in our yard, and they produce a lot of seeds. And that is probably my biggest weed in my garden, is the box elders. So I don't need any more of those trees. They're not bad trees. I don't think any trees are bad trees. They serve a function, and in a forest, their function is to grow really, really fast. They're a maple tree, so they produce a lot of sugar. So there's a lot of energy in those trees, for like calorically. And then they blow down in windstorms. They're very fast growing and brittle wood. They have, I think it's called long grain. And so they have very brittle wood. They grow at really weird angles really fast, and then they blow down in windstorms, and then they feed the next generation of growth in the forest as they break down. So they're not a great tree for landscaping purposes, like in a city backyard like I have. But they are a really, I don't know if they're a keystone species per se, but they do support a lot of native insect species and bird species and bats. So they are a very useful tree as far as the non-human neighbors that I share my yard with. So I will be keeping the ones that are healthy, but I am not trying to resurrect this stump that is literally shaped like a V. And I don't think we'll ever have a stable base. So I have been trying to kill it, and how I've been trying to kill it is by putting my compost bin on top of it. I have successfully killed a diseased chokecherry tree stump, and those are very resilient. So I am confident that I can use this method to do away with this Manitoba maple stump, but it has been under the compost pile for, I think it's been under there for 3 years now, maybe only 2. But I uncovered it, I took the compost off of it to amend my garden this year, and it is still growing. I will show a clip of it. Okay, so here is our Michael Myers tree stump. And so you can see where there was a big trunk that blew down. And on this side, this one fell down too. And you can kind of tell how it is V-shaped. So this main trunk, I'm pretty sure it is dead. It's got like mycelium growing on it and its bark has fallen off. But these side bits, can you see? They are growing. So where that stump is where I am developing my perennial flower bed. And so I was hoping to be able to use that space for grow space this year. And I don't want to keep my compost bin there because it's going to shade other things that I planted. So what I've decided to do is when I flip the compost that I've been adding to all winter, I'm going to flip it onto the stump again, but I'm going to use black silage tarp to tarp over top of that compost on top of the tree stump. And then that's where I'm going to try and plant my watermelon because it will have the heat of the compost breaking down. Probably when I plant these little soil blocks, I will put a little bit of actual potting soil in the hole so that while those plants are developing their roots, that compost will be breaking down. And by the time that they get to the compost, hopefully it will be broken down enough that it's not going to burn them or anything like that. This is a method called a hotbed. It's kind of a modified method. I think for a proper hotbed, you would do like a layer of soil on top of that compost. I'm not going to do that. I think I'm just going to do those holes and see how it goes. And so I'm going to treat it just as a mound on top of that and probably plant 3 watermelons in there. And with the black plastic and the heat of the compost, and that area should get enough sun that hopefully we will be able to harvest watermelon for the very first time this year. So we have a tray planted here. I don't think I'm going to put any vermiculite on these. Squash seedlings are pretty, well, I don't know. I don't trust this bag of soil actually, so I am going to put vermiculite on these. The reason I'm using the vermiculite, even though these are large seeds, is actually to prevent damping off, which damping off is caused by a fungus that lives in the soil. And if you are a bit of a chronic overwaterer like I am, it can be a really big problem. So what will happen with damping off is your little seedling will emerge, germinate, it'll be coming up, it'll look great, and then all of a sudden it'll flop over and look so sad and start to shrivel up, and then it will die. And all your seedlings will start to do that. And you'll say, oh no, what am I doing wrong? And if you're anything like me, you'll be like, oh, do you need a little drink? And then they will all surely die. I'm not sure what the magic is, but the layer of vermiculite on top definitely does help with the damping off. If damping off is something that you experience, you can also use a diluted hydrogen peroxide spray to just lightly spray the top of your soil. The hydrogen peroxide method is not considered organic, but it is something that I will do. If you use a diluted hydrogen peroxide solution to water your starts with, that can help if you have fungus gnats in your soil. That will kill the fungus gnat larva or the eggs. I'm not sure which part of the cycle it gets, but it will stop the cycle. And that's a nice cheap alternative, or a cheap way to do it. And I don't know, I feel better about hydrogen peroxide personally than, like, I know some people will water with the mosquito dunks in their water, and I don't know enough about that, and they weird me out. I'm kind of weird about those, so no judgment if you like to use those and they work well for you. They're just not something that I like to use. But they can help if you have fungus gnats. Sorry, I didn't realize that I forgot to put my camera down to show you that I was putting that vermiculite on my tray of soil here. But it is, oh gosh, see See, these trays are so flimsy. I went to go pick this up, and can you see it is completely cracked all down this side? And this is one of the newest trays that I have. So some other things I wanted to talk about with the soil blocks is I mentioned that your soil blocker, you should only have to buy one if you look after it. And so what looking after a soil blocker entails essentially is that after you use it, don't leave it to dry caked in soil. Rinse it immediately after you're done with it in clean water, and then set it somewhere to where it can fully dry, where it's getting good circulation. I usually just set it on one of these cafeteria trays, but with the edge of the soil blocker kind of on the edge of the tray so that it's not right flat on the tray, so that there's getting a little bit of airflow in underneath, because you don't want it to rust because it is metal. And it's a lot easier to clean when that soil is wet than it is if you let that soil dry and cake on there. It becomes kind of like cement. So keeping it rinsed and cleaned and dried after using it. You may have to use a little bit of grease if they start getting a little bit squeaky over time. I have seen some people use like electrical tape or like hockey tape on the handle to make it a little bit more comfortable if you're making a lot of soil blocks with them. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I know about that needs to be done for maintenance. So they're not difficult to look after, and if you look after them, they should last a good long while. They're quite well made, at least the ones that I have. I am just planting one seed in each of these holes. A lot of the times I will plant 2 seeds along the edges because I do find that these edge soil blocks will dry out faster than the other ones. And so I just like to give those seeds twice as much of a chance at success in those blocks that get a little bit drier. And I'm planting a lot. These are my pickling cucumbers, and I'm planting a lot of pickling cucumbers this year. I'm trying to remember. So 88 cucumber plants is what I'm planning on growing, and then my partner is also planning on growing some cucumber plants in his garden bed. So we are hopefully going to be having a really good cucumber year. I think that another thing that can deter people from soil blocks or trying soil blocks is that most people that I see making content around soil blocks have like a soil block formula for what you have to mix for your soil, and I think that that can deter people, that they have to like buy, you know, this, that, and the other, and then mix it all up in these ratios. And my recommendation is if you buy a soil blocker, just try making the soil blocks with the soil you have. I use a little sifter that I made. It is not fancy. It is just chicken wire and duct tape in the shape of the little bin that I use for making my soil blocks, like it fits on it. And that will sift out any of like the bigger, woodier pieces that might be in your mix, like your compost or your seed starting mix rather. So I am just I was gonna put more soil on top of this, but I'm starting to get a little bit low on soil, and I still have to pot up my tomatoes and peppers. I like to buy my soil at least 6 months in advance before I need it. I have found since 2020, it seems like the people who sell potting mix have never been able to get in front of that demand again. And I have had the experience myself and have talked with a lot of different people who have had the experience as well of buying a new bag of soil, planting your seeds in it, and then they all die because the soil hasn't broken down enough and it burns your seedlings. So I usually like to go around Christmas time to a hardware store local to me called Canadian Tire. And sometimes they still have the soil out in like their garden center. And where I live around Christmas time, it is usually like minus 30 degrees is not unusual. And that's Fahrenheit or Celsius. So if they still have the soil out in the garden center, it's usually frozen solid. And so I buy it at that point in time, and then it sits in my basement until I'm ready to start seeds. Usually I have soil left over from the previous year, and I use that first before my Christmas soil. But this year I don't think that's gonna happen. I started a lot more milk jugs, and I think just a lot more seeds in general. So I am getting low on my bale of soil, which feels a little dangerous because, like I say, I don't like to use new soil for my seedlings. It scares me. I lost all of my squash and cucumbers 2 years ago. I started them and the soil was too hot and they all came up and they got burnt and they died. So that was really, really sad, and I don't want to do that again. So far I haven't had any problems with this bag of soil, but I did buy it around Christmas time. So if you have any problems with your seed starting soil, it's so disappointing when it happens to people who are new to this and they think that it's something that they did wrong when it's somebody sold you soil for a purpose and it's not ready for that purpose. That's so unfortunate. So just know if that happens to you, it's not you. The soil's not bad. It just needs more time to break down than what they give it before they sell it, unfortunately. So my workaround has been, buy it early, even though it's kind of a pain. And it's more of a pain in the instance of if you run out and then you need more. So then it's kind of a gamble. So that's about half of my pickling cucumbers. And when I plant those out, I will also direct sow the rest of them out in the garden, kind of as a succession in the different areas I'm planting them. Now, I haven't really 100% made up my mind on what is going in this set of soil blocks. I have some things that I would like to start. So these are seeds that were in my Nana's stash that I got when she died. And I want to try starting these zinnias. These are the candy cane ones. So I don't know if I've seen these ones before, but they are a mix of colors that have the striping. Usually when I've seen these stripy ones, they're just the white with the red stripes. So I'm really curious to see the different colors. So I'm gonna start some of those. I grew these for I think the last 2 years now. No, this is just last year. These are the Oklahoma salmon zinnias, and I really, really like these. The Oklahoma series, I wasn't aware when I bought those, but they are a small bloom. So they are all doubles or semi-doubles, but the blooms are really small. I don't think it even says on here how big they are, but they're like, I don't know, a couple inches. Like they're really just like little tiny blooms. But the salmon color is so beautiful. So I'm gonna grow those again. I have to dig out more seeds. I saved a whole bunch of zinnia seeds and I want to start some from the ones that I saved as well. This is blanket flower, and I think I might just run out and direct sow this where I want it. I think I'm gonna plant some of this in front of some of my garden beds and maybe also some rudbeckia. That's also what I'm planning on doing with my zinnias, and I might pop some in my perennial bed where I have perennials I'm starting from seed this year. And then I have a mix of sunflowers here that I got in a seed swap. I've grown these before, but I think I only had one of them flower because the deer ate them in the meadow or something. But the one that flowered was the darkest purple sunflower. It didn't even look real. It was so beautiful. And this is a mix that is supposed to have the yellow, the pink, and the purple. So I've seen the purple one. It was amazing. These are initially from Fruition Seeds, and it was called the Evening Colors Mix, if you want to look that up. And the other variety of sunflowers that I'm going to be planting this year is the Moulin Rouge from West Coast Seeds. I don't think I have enough in here for what I want to plant, but I saved some of these last year, so I'm going to dig those out as well. So what else do we want to put in here? I have a couple other options. Let's talk about it. So I also have some giant marigolds and some marigolds, and some white marigolds. I think it's a little too late for me to be starting those where I live. So I think instead of starting any marigolds, I'm just gonna take these seeds out of my pile. And I think I'm gonna buy marigolds at the nursery this year. I have seeds for red amaranth, but it usually reseeds itself in my garden. So I feel like maybe I don't need to start that inside, and I can probably just move some of the starts that plant themselves in the garden to where I want them instead of, you know, using these soil blocks that I use my precious time and energy for, and soil. I do have some Tithonia. I don't know that I have enough time for that though. I have this Celosia from Moonglow Gardens, and I've never grown Celosia before. So maybe I'll try some of that. Put that in the maybe pile. This is some purple auric, which I think I'm just gonna direct sow that as well. That is a purple green. It does reseed well. So it should, if I can get it established, come back every year. I just have not succeeded in getting it established yet. I'm gonna try again. Now I also have 2 different packs of California Double Giant zinnias. I don't think I'm gonna grow these this year. And then I also have a couple of packs of mixed zinnias from Moonglow Gardens. I decided what I am planting, and I have my label ready to go here. So I decided I'm gonna do 15 straw flowers because I am planting straw flowers in between my cabbages and my kale this year. Straw flowers can help attract parasitic wasps, which can help with root maggot and the cabbage moth caterpillars. That both will affect things in the cabbage family. So I'm gonna plant straw flowers near my cabbages. I'm gonna plant 5 of each of the 3 kinds of zinnias I'm planting. So that's the Oklahoma salmon, the candy cane, and then my zinnia mix that I saved out of my garden in 2024. And this is a mix of the Queen Lime zinnia series and the Moon Glow mix, which I think that year I had mostly pink zinnias out of the Moon Glow mix. And then I'm gonna do 5 of the Evening Colors Sunflower and 5 of the Moulin Rouge Sunflowers, and then I'll probably direct sow some more of those. All right, so let's do it. This straw flower blend that I'm planting is from Moonglow Gardens, and it's called Sophie's Blend. I have grown this blend for a number of years now, and I love the colors. So there's like burgundy wine reds, I have had white ones, like cream ones with yellow, pink ones that have like pink and yellow are kind of peachy. It's a really, really pretty mix. And if you've never grown straw flowers before, they're a really neat flower. They have like very dry petals, and so like they're very stiff, and they make kind of a, I don't know, they feel cool, they sound cool when you touch them. They're just a really interesting, unusual flower. And like I say, the beneficial insects really, really love them. Hoverflies really seem to like them too. So I really like straw flowers, and I tend to grow them in my garden every year. They also dry really nicely, but surprisingly, I don't think actually dried any of them myself. I usually leave them out in the garden over the winter, and they stay really, really pretty as a dried flower in the garden. And they add a little bit of visual interest when the rest of the world here is just a blanket of white. It's nice to have a little pop of color, and they look really cute with their little snow caps on in the winter months. Straw flowers will usually self-sow pretty readily, even in my northern garden. But my problem that I run into is the ones that seed themselves in the garden, I don't get a whole lot of blooms off of. I feel like they don't have quite enough time. So I prefer to start them inside. Same with my zinnias. I find that if I direct sow them, I'll only get a couple of flowers off of each plant, where if I start them just these few weeks ahead inside, they really just get a nice head start. They don't get planted out until the soil's a little warmer, and they really seem to appreciate that. And I get a lot more blooms off of these plants when I start them inside. So that's just what I like to do. I know a lot of people even around here have good luck direct sowing their zinnias, but I just don't. So this is how I like to do it. And I'm gonna do these candy cane ones. I'm so excited about these. I don't know how old these are. Like I say, these were my Nana's seeds, and if you can see the price, they're $1.79. And this is quite a hefty package. I don't know if it says how much it weighs, but there's a lot of seeds in here. So hopefully these will germinate for me. Oh my gosh, yeah, like, see how many seeds are in there? Holy. So I think I'm gonna plant probably at least 3 in each, because I have no idea how old these seeds are or if any of them will be viable. And I feel like my luck tends to be that if I overplant, I will have 100% germination. Where if I plant just the exact amount that I need, I will have horrible germination. I don't know what is the science behind that, but that seems to be my experience over and over again. So things that I really want to make sure that I have enough of, I will sow a little more generously if there's something I have a lot of seeds off, like a lot of seeds on hand for rather. And now I'm going to plant my zinnia mix. I did not have good germination on these. I don't know what the trick to saving like viable zinnia seeds is, but apparently I'm not very good at it, because every time I try and save zinnia seeds, I just don't have good germination. I germination tested these last spring, and I had 50% germination in my germination test. And then when I planted like half of a tray of them to start for the garden, I don't think I had any come up. And I had them in the same tray as my other zinnia varieties like I'm doing today. And all of the other zinnia varieties did just fine. So I don't know what happened between my germination test and when I planted them out, but I am going to just put a whole lot of seeds in each one of these blocks and just hope that we get any to germinate. And if anybody has experience saving zinnia seeds and has any tips for me, I would love to know what you have success with. Because like I said, I do not have success saving zinnia seeds. And these seeds that I'm planting right now, I even tried to grow the plants for seed production. So like I didn't deadhead the first flowers like I normally would. I let them, those very first flowers that set on the plants, I let those develop seeds so that they would have the most amount of time to mature, because our season is quite short, and I think that's also part of why it's hard to save zinnia seeds here. So I even tried with these ones to give them as much time as I could. And they look like decent, viable, mature seeds. So I don't know. We'll see what happens this year. But I would really love if these germinate, because I'm really curious to see what kind of a mix I would get out of these, being the Queen Lime series and some other random zinnias. I ran out of seeds for the Queen Lime series, and they're just too expensive to want to buy again. So I'm hoping I can get something pretty to germinate out of this lot. And again, I'm gonna laugh so hard if all of these seeds germinate, because I am packing them into these little soil blocks. Now for our evening colors sunflowers. And like I say, I probably will go and direct sow some more of these around. But when I have a special variety of sunflower like this, I like to start them in the soil blocks. Sorry, my dog is like making a little nest on the couch behind you. I don't know if you can hear her. She's being kind of loud. But yeah, I like to start my kind of special sunflower varieties in the soil blocks, because I have a lot of volunteer sunflowers in the garden, and I don't always want just a yellow, like a black oil sunflower. I'd accidentally made some this last row of soil blocks with the insert. I wasn't really paying attention as I was doing my soil block, so I just put little plugs in there, because I don't need the sunflowers to be planted quite that deep, do I? Oh, it says 1 inch, so that would have been fine. Oh well. So these Moulin Rouge sunflowers are so beautiful. I feel like a lot of the times when you buy a red sunflower, they're just like never as red as the photo in the seed catalog that they show you. But these Moulin Rouge sunflowers did not disappoint. They are the darkest, prettiest sunflowers I have ever seen in real life, other than the purple one that I grew out of this mix the one year. Just very dramatic. And like, I love black flowers. I love like goth gardens. I love that aesthetic. So these moody dark red sunflowers just really do it for me. And I keep contemplating starting more soil blocks, but I think I just need to talk myself off of that ledge this year, because this year my focus is supposed to be on filling in my little mini meadow space, and I have so many milk jugs of things, and so many things have come up in the milk jugs, that I think I just need to focus on that this year and not plant a whole bunch more starts that are going to take a whole bunch more time to plant and look after and then transplant. So I think I have plenty. The garden is going to be beautiful, but don't hold me to that. I could still change my mind. Is that just like a universal gardener thing, or do like we grow out of that eventually? Oh, do the straw flowers? I'm gonna Google. Straw flowers might need light to germinate. So I just looked it up, and yes, straw flower seeds do need light to germinate. So I am going to just cover those with vermiculite. I like to look up any of that kind of information on Johnny's Seeds website is usually a really good place to get information like that. You don't just want to look at the AI overview. It's not a reliable place to get information for growing, in my experience. In my opinion, not really a good place to get your information for most things, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, don't rely on that. A site like Johnny's has, you know, real people who are actually growing things and who actually have experience and know what the plants need. So I just Googled and checked on Johnny's website, and yes, straw flowers need light to germinate. So I covered those with the vermiculite. I'm just gonna cover the rest of my flowers here with some of that as well to help with any potential damping off. Okay. And now don't hold me to it, but I think those are the last soil blocks that we will be starting this year. And I think I said earlier that I am going to be all done with seed starting stuff, but I forgot that I still need to pot up my peppers and my tomatoes. So that I think will be technically the last seed starting thing. So now our squash and our cucumbers, our watermelon, and a bunch of flowers are started for the year. Hopefully everything goes well and that is done and I won't have to redo it for any kind of emergency reason. Hopefully all of that made sense with how I plant my squash in my soil blocks, and hopefully it was helpful, kind of my pros and cons of things that I really, really like about the soil blocks versus things that I find to be a little bit maybe tedious with the soil blocks. If anybody's looking to make the decision on whether you want to get into soil blocking yourself, hopefully that is helpful. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate everybody who's been watching along and commenting, and I really didn't expect anybody to watch these, so it's nice that people are. So thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Bye, friend.